So let me say good evening, ma, and good evening, house there. Thank you so much for another opportunity to interact and to learn. Today we are looking at an important part of the field of human resource management practice, and it is important for us to reflect and to review the foundations of the human resource practice. Why do we need foundation? Because it gives us guidelines and it provides for us fundamentals into the study, the principles, and the practice of human resource management. So I'll be speaking on contemporary HR practices. What has happened to the field and the practice and the values and the theory of human resource management practice. We need to understand that we now live in a world that is so rapidly changing, disrupted, and increasing perplexities and complexities. And so, as we understand the reality of the current dispensation, it further provides us or harms us with sufficient data in order to understand where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are going. So if we look at the field of HR actually emerged, sometimes in the, in 1950s. So it's a profession that came in the 19th century. It's not as old as philosophy and others. And so by 1950s, 1960s, it was getting, a little bit relevant. And then it moved into the 70s, and then by 80s and 90s, it became much more pronounced and much more appreciated. So thinkers like Mullin said, HR is the elevation of personnel management, that was the former name, into strategic levels, strategic roles, where you have to incorporate other things, that were not there in the personnel management. So as it has evolved from the time of Michael Armstrong and now to the age of the father or modern HR thinker like Professor Dave Orridge, Cameron, and other scholars who have provided and lent a lot of credence to the field, the practice, the fundamentals, the principles, and the philosophy of human resource management practice. So as I said, so it has evolved over the years, it has moved, it has accelerated. So how has it been in the 21st century, in the current dispensations? How has HR performed, and what are the expectations of HR practice? So as I said, we live in the age of rapid change. Things have changed. There is ecological change, climatic change, there is generational change, there is technology also playing a lot of path. There is change in global politics, change in governance, change in corporations, change in businesses, change in social class and status, change in geographical locations. So all these things have brought in, a lot of disruptions into the field and price of HR, and also the increasing complexities. So what we have now are much more demanding than what we used to have in the past. So the increasing demands, increasing complexities have put HR under critical curve, under critical, expectations. And these increasing demands, increasing expectations have put a lot of, demand, expectations, and that is what has happened in the world of human resource today. So when you say human resource, it's important for us to understand, of course, why do we need to go back to the basics? Is to just help us to understand where we're coming from, where we are going, and what are we, talking about. Well, for example, human resource. So if you look at the two words, human and then resource, so it means you are not referring to natural resources, you are not referring to tools, you're not referring to technology, you're not referring to trees, you are referring to human being. And then resource. So human being, typically a human being has two major capabilities. And the first is the manual capabilities, able to use his hands and his legs. And the second is the mental ability. So when you say human, you are referring to both his manual and mental abilities, both his physical and skillful, or his mental abilities. And then resource. So you mean there are quite a number of resources. There's capital resources, there's natural resources, there's artificial resources. But now you are referring to human as a resource, human as a major player in having more value. Why do you refer to human as a resource? What you are trying to say is that when you see a man, when you see a human being, it's not in his finite outcomes. He has the abilities, he has the initiatives, he has the creativities, he has the innovations, he has the competencies to deliver 1001 things. And that's why it's called resources. So he could do infinite things. That's why you don't refer to people as efficient. You say effective, because we use effectiveness as human beings, for living being. Why we use efficiency for machine. Why effectiveness? Because it has quite a number of limitless, endless abilities and potential. Even experts told us that even a human being at death has not explored more than 10% of ability. So human resource here, you are referring to the abilities, the creativities, the wealth, the knowledge, the skills, the competencies, the intelligence, of human to populate and to deliver more value. And that's why you see it's called human resource. He has potentials, he has abilities, he has competencies and to do anything. So human resource as a profession now is divided into two. And the first aspect of human resource, and that's what differentiates human resource from every other profession. The first one is human. For you to manage human being, you must be human. Technology cannot manage human being. Natural resources cannot manage human being. Robots cannot manage human being. It is only human that can manage human because of the complexities and the uniqueness and the formation of human being. So for you to practice HR, you must have the humanity. Humanity means you are conscious that you are dealing with a living organism, and not just a living organism, but a higher organism like man, complex, difficult, intricate, and inertia. So you must have the ability to understand human dynamics, human peculiarities, human uniqueness, human in ecosystem, human behaviors, human activities, human approaches and methodologies. And the second part is the body of knowledge. Successful HR people must understand how to manage people, and they must understand how to apply the principles of HR in managing people. In other words, to manage human resources, you must understand the principles of HR. And to apply the principles of HR, you must understand human resources, human being. If you don't understand human being, your knowledge of HR, you may know the theories, the concepts, the principles, it will fail because you are not able to apply it in context and content. You are not able to apply it in the different uniqueness and peculiarity of people you are dealing with. People in terms of diversities, people in terms of the context, the organization, and the peculiarity. So as human resource, you must understand the two divide. Humanity, that is, you understand how to deal with people. You understand the knowledge and the approach and the styles and the methods in managing people's issues, and also you have the understanding of the principles of the bodies of human resources. So as a child, there's what we call triangle. You see triangle has 3 equal sides. You have this power of HR, and the personality of HR, and the position of HR. Effective HR person must be able to play around these 3 domains so that it can function effectively and deliver and drive HR practice. Practitioners must have the ability to wear the requisite personality. So it means not everybody can practice HR. Of course, anybody can interact, but when it now comes to managing them, it has to do with managing people for the organization. So you have an embodiment of different diverse people, and you want to manage them for the organization, for the enterprise. You want to bring them together and situate them to achieve corporate goals while you are also achieving their own personal agenda too. So, in other words, you need the personality, the right personality. What is this personality? It means you know what it means to carry people. You know what it means to integrate people. You know what it means to manage people. You know what it means to be able to cement people. You know what it means to be able to understand people. So the HR person succeeds more because he has the right personality. He has the right character. He has the right habit. He knows what it looks like. He has the courage. If an HR person does not understand work ethics, he can't manage people. If an HR person is always the one even violating the laws, he can't manage HR. So it means he himself is a carrier of what he preaches and teaches and says. He understands the ethics and the code of conduct and the etiquette. If he does not understand, he cannot demonstrate what he does not have. So the HR manager or practitioner must have the personality, the right identity to be able to lead and then advance the HR practice. Two, it needs position. When we say position, what does it mean? It means the centrality of the HR practice in the organization is embedded in the position, in the rank, in the hierarchy. Where you place the HR in the organization determines how much it's able to wield power and wield its position to drive HR agenda. In other words, if the HR person is not well positioned, he might not be able to succeed in executing to the fullest the HR activities, HR initiatives, HR agenda. Therefore, it needs position. And the third is power. What confers power on the HR is the fact that because it's responsible for people. People come in through HR, people stay through HR, and people go out. So from engagement to maintenance to disengagement, because of that interface, anything that has to do with people, the HR person is responsible. It therefore confers on the HR power, the power of managing people, the power of dealing and advancing activity that have to focus on people. So in the triangle of HR, you have personality, you have the right, identity to lead. And the second is the position, the role, the hierarchy you occupy in the system. And the third is the calibration of the opportunities vested on you by the organization to act on a behalf as a system. We must understand that HR is made up of three major components. The first component is HR is derived from law, regulations, regulatory practice. And the second one is sociology, environment. And the third is psychology, people behavior. Let's look at the first one. When we say HR comes from the law, and that's why as HR person, you are always looking at every practice is in the context of the law. Am I within the framework of the law? Am I acting legally? Have I done anything anti? Have I done anything against? Have I done anything that will not support the agenda of what the law provides? Whether local laws or global laws. HR derives activity. That's why you see statutory like Labor Act, Pension Reforms Act, Employee Compensation Act, Factories Act, ITF Act, HMO. Why? They provide basics and they provide guidelines for operating within environment and country legally without going into litigation. When HR does not understand the principles and formations of equity, financial justice, and legal regulations, HR is going to err and then it's going to cause a problem. The second is sociology. HR makes use of environment, contextualization of what applies in this organization based on the environment, based on the society, based on the uniqueness, and based on the gender differences, diversity, generational differences. HR uses sociology to drive things like culture, ethics, values, habits, principles. And the third is psychology. HR uses psychology to drive elements of motivation, behaviors, people's engagement, driving passion, driving involvement, and driving participation. So this helps HR to format, an important aspect in driving HR activities. And now, so what are the body of HR? What are the components of HR? What are the scope or domains of HR? Well, there are quite a number of metrics to measure in HR. If you're going to measure HR, there are quite a number of limitless metrics to measure, but we're going to limit it to few things here, which are very critical for the HR. The number one is HR has the embodiment and component of job design. So the role of HR practitioner is to design jobs, is to look at the entire work and then break them down into jobs so that every single person has roles and activities to take. And the role of HR is to support in evaluation by ranking jobs, by classifying jobs, by analyzing jobs into content, into occupational inventory, money level. The role of HR also is to identify the area or handle recruitment. Its role is to facilitate how many people do we need in the system and what category are we looking for and what must they have, the person specifications and the job specifications, and then how do they perform, how they fit into our culture. The role of HR is to support embodied system. Our role is how, when you people come to the system, how do you format them? How do you onboard them? How do you entrench? How do you inculcate? How do you initiate them that they get to your system and they're able to run with your culture, with your value, with your principle? The role of HR is to support employees' conduct and discipline, otherwise consequence management. How do we ensure we follow guidelines, code of conduct, ethics, principles, and know things that are in line with your organizational values, and what are the consequences, and how do you measure and met consequences when people violate your principles and your laws and your code and your handbook and your guideline? The role of HR is to manage records, the records of employees, from the point of pre-engagement to the point of exit. So keeping this record, whether as hard copy or electronic, that is the role of HR. Keeping them, getting them, and then updating them. I say they are kept for informative purposes and for action plans and action for taking necessary actions. The role of HR is to support in performance management. When we say performance management, we mean HR is the center that helps to integrate all the performance measurement, from the point of onboarding to the point of confirmation to the point of continuous performance management system integrations and support, working with line managers and CEOs to drive it. The role of HR is to help in total reward system or strategy, compensations and benefits and welfare and motivations and whatever helps to attract and to retain and to recognize and to help people to grow in the system and to be equitably, rewarded, which includes salary structures and competency matrix and grading system, career progression. That includes the roles of HR. The role of HR is to drive employee engagement, recognition, relationship, and feedbacks. It provides the platform that enables every single person to find fulfillment in the organization. Say, I'm enjoying my job and I'm doing well, and to remove anything toxic or anything that could be anti-people's efficiency and productivity. The role of HR is to link employees and employees, managers and managers, employees and managers, managers and executives, executives and employees, to create that town up, environment that is driving and thriving and makes people to succeed in their job. The role of HR is to provide HR guidance system, advising leadership, advising management, advising managers, advising employees, counseling them, providing them inputs and support and things that can help them to do well. The role of HR is to provide human resource data management system. So this data and analytics help managers to understand actions, decisions that support human capital management. So HR provides those data and metrics and measurements and analytics that support management in taking informed decisions with regards to employees' performance, productivities, recruitment, training, and others. The role of HR is to engage stakeholders. Stakeholders can include sometimes customers, sometimes other investors, sometimes you have communities, sometimes you have regulatory authority. The role of HR is to engage them also and provide a suitable interface between the organization and its environment. The role of HR is to manage employees' exits and disengagement in such a way that as people leave our system, they leave our system in a goodlier manner. We don't create tension, we don't create bad image, we don't damage our reputation, we don't send people in a way that makes them go to social media and begin to create a very bad impression about us. It creates a good ambassadorial representation. The role of HR is to drive internal communication by ensuring that between employees and management, things are clear. Issues that could create or snowball into complex matters, HR manages them. For example, now delay in salaries. For example, now management hard decisions. The role of HR is to simplify them and to eliminate friction in the system. The role of HR is to drive L&D. How do we ensure that we are building a learning system? People are learning, not just training, learning. Learning through peer review, through books reading, through engagement, through collaboration, through shared mindset, through learning, coaching, counseling, advisory, and support. That is also part of the role of HR. The role of HR is quite enormous, and that helps HR to drive a sustainable, progressive organization, because the role of HR is how do we bring in people, which is 3. You bring in people, you maintain them, and then they also leave. So engagement, maintenance, and exit. They come, they stay, and they go. That's the life cycle of our career. No matter how long you stay in the system, we will leave. So in this 3 journey, the HR is responsible for providing the platform that allow people to have a good and successful career. Now, Dave Orish, and his team, I was also part of the team that did that, carried out the global HR competency, activities in 2022, yes, 2020, sorry, 2020, and then, no, 2021, sorry, and then In this global competency matrix, we find out that HR has 3 domains to operate. The first is HR as a person, individual, HR as a department, and HR as a system. So how do you, as a professional, impart on the team? And how do you, as a team, impart on the organization? Do not forget that, just like the popular saying, HR is not for HR. HR is not about HR. It means it is not because you say, I'm HR. No, it's about the impact deposited in the system. It's about advancing the corporate directions, focus, capabilities through human capital management. So the research shows that individual HR competencies only represent 3.5%. So it means if you know everything about HR, if you know every skills and you know so much about HR, you can only do 3.5% as a person. Why? Because you need to advance what you know, what you read, the certification, the experience you have garnered over the year, what you can do, move it from yourself and affect the department. And when you are able to depopulate or replicate that in the department, you are going to be given about 48.2%, because it is no longer about you. It's about recreating yourself, repopulating yourself, replicating yourself in so many people in the department. So those guys in your department are be empowered to be like you. It means they could do what you could do. So if they could do what you could do, there'll be less of friction. There'll be less of confusion, because they are be empowered to act, to perform, and to do a lot of things. And then when your team is empowered and everybody there, they are so skilled and experienced, research shows that they will manifest 48.3% in the system. So 48.3% is the system, 48.2% the department, and 3.5% of you will give you 100% organizational performance. So you can imagine the impact you can make on the business. From you, just you replicate in your team, and team replicate in the system, and you have a successful system. But where you have, it now means that this is the implication. If you as a HR manager, you are not effective, it is evident that you are going to have ineffective team. And because your team is ineffective, you're going to have an ineffective system. So from individual competence to team effectiveness to corporate capability, the totality of the organization is called capability. And it starts from the value of HR. So HR today, in 2016, 2020, the Dave Orish 2016 competency model gave us 9 HR domains, broken down into 3. The first is HR today is an organization enabler. What does it mean? It means if you are an HR manager or a professional, your role is to shape culture and champion it. Why? Because culture represents about 75% of corporate success. And culture is embedded in the system. And principally, one of the agents of cultural driver is HR. So you as HR or your department is responsible for calibrating culture, not just you alone, but you are significantly responsible for helping culture to move. Of course, everybody is responsible, but you are a center point. Therefore, your role as enabler is to champion and change culture. 2, you are to be human capital curator. You are to create a system that enables right people to come to your system and they deliver value. And thirdly, you are a total reward steward. What does it mean? It means you are to support in the design and execution of effective reward strategy that drives and compensates and recognizes people. The second is core drivers. Why? Why are you core? When you say something is core, it means it's germane, it's critical, it's fundamental to that system. So as HR, you are core, you are critical. And by that, it means you are a strategic positioner. Through your influences and impact, you are to position the organization as a successful entity. And secondly, you are a navigator, paradox navigator. You provide direction, clarity. You clarify confusions and ambiguities. And then you are a credible activist, not a negative activist. It means you are not creating tension. You are not propagating falsehood, but you are standing and representing the interests of the employees and managers and leaders and even the organization in a goodly manner, in ways that gain both leverage and efficiency. And thirdly, you are a delivery enabler. What does that mean? So it means your role is to ensure that there is compliance in the system. You don't create a system with toxic culture. You don't create a system where people can do anyhow, where you create complacency and then anybody can do anyhow. You will kill the system. But you create that enabling enabling environment that enforces and ensures people do the right thing. You are a data developer, designer, and interpreter. So the data you provide the manager helps to take significant decisions that helps the organization to move forward. HR provide metrics, and the metrics shows from employment or recruitment to learning to performance to consequence management to everything that happens in the inside. And finally, you are a technology and media integrator, using social media now as instrument to wield the role and activities of HR. So this is what we have. And then by 2020 to 2021, 22, Dave Ori team also came up with another competency framework. And in here, HR is divided, the role or the competency is framed into 5. Number 1, you are an information mobilizer. What does it mean? Your role is to disseminate information in the system. Your role is to curate and collaborate with organizational leaders to create and generate information that is useful. You are to mention misgivings. You are to take away doubts, tension in the system. And then you are also to advance human capabilities. The entire organization has capabilities. So from individual competencies, you move and migrate together and you create capabilities. And thirdly, you have to foster collaboration from departments A, B, C, D. We have people in every department. So we're not fighting. We are one family. We are working together. We are not going to create disunity and then create tension in the system. But how do we work together? That is the role of HR, to foster that collaborations. And then you have to accelerate the business. How do you accelerate the business? The entirety of bringing people is to perform. If the system is not growing and it's not performing, HR is not working. But the system is growing when HR activity in account, in sales, in production, in compliance, in admin, in control, in IT is affecting the bottom line. So the role of HR is that we bring in people to perform. We are not just training them or bringing them because we want to populate number, but because we have an expectation, and that is to impact the system. And finally, you are to simplify complexity. Why? There are tensions, there are issues. There are expectations from investors, employees, customers, communities, government. Your role is, how do we simplify our activities? How do you eliminate tensions? How do you remove issues? That is the role of HR. So these are the metrics of HR. Now, as you look at HR now, begin to domesticate and apply the HR activities today, you must understand that one of the issues is diversity and inclusion. So inclusivity is key because we have different people, working in our system, whether it is internal dimensions or external dimension or global dimension. Your role is to manage them, different races and ethnics and physical abilities and gender and sexual orientations and income and personal habits and recreational habits and religion and education and work experience and appearances and parental status and marital status and geographical location, differences in managerial status and union and work location and seniority. The role of HR is, how do we bring in people of differences to add value? And how do we advance such a relationship that helps to drive a very strong and effective organization? HR must always understand that today HR is trying to incorporate all the stakeholders, investors. They want more money. They want business expansion. Employees, better salaries, good working conditions, better career opportunities to grow. And then you have the customers. They want quality products, consistency, availability. You have the community, host community, whether it's online or physical community. They want to add value to them, to support community development and social engagement. And the government, they need taxes, they need compliance. So as you see all these 5 stakeholders, today's HR is, how do we work and operate in creating a balanced scorecard for all of them? And as you do that, you come back to understand that you are dealing with different generations. Baby boomer, Generation X, Millennials, Gen Z, Alpha, all these generations interplay together in one period of time. In this our dispensation, your role is to manage them. You are not to dispense one against the other. Your role is to create and enable a quasi system that can bring and unify different generations to work together and say add value. And that is part of the contemporary role of HR. How do you manage the Gen Z? How do you manage the millennial? How do you manage the Gen X? How do you manage the baby boomer? How do you manage the traditional generation? All of them, you bring them together in order to advance the system, because every generation has their uniqueness and they add value. As HR manages talent, you look at how do you advance human capital capabilities, and that includes knowledge. How do we have knowledge? And how do we retain this knowledge? The repository of this knowledge helps us to move forward. And then abilities. What can we do? Skills. education, training, experience, judgment, wisdom, creativity. All this helps to build human capital development in driving the system. And as you look at the role of HR, you look at how do we continue to build for the future. Competition has put a lot of organizations in a very serious critical curve. And because we are in a competitive environment, your role of HR as HR is how do we drive an effective competency framework for the organization, such as designing jobs and roles, and then developing jobs and roles, implementing jobs and roles, evaluating jobs and roles, and analyzing the impact on the system. So as we look at HR in this dimension, you help to build today's workforce for tomorrow's success. And one of the elements that you have to deal with is culture. 1,200 executives were interviewed globally, and he asked them individually, what is the secret of a corporate success? Out of this 1,200, 1,000 said, our disciplined corporate culture is responsible. It therefore suggests that culture represents 75% of successful corporations. And HR must be able to work on culture, both surface culture, those ones we can see. You can see our colors, our logos, our ID card, our office outlook. They're nice. And then there's the beneath culture, and that's the one that is eating our work system, our response to mails and communications and reporting, and the way we handle customers, the way we execute deep culture, the way we respond to things within the system. Because deep culture is so deep, just like the iceberg. The surface is just small. The one beneath is big. Our culture on the outside, our buildings, our premises, is just little. The real culture is endemic and is in the system. And that will determine the survivability and the growth and the success of our organization. And the role of HR is to integrate and provide, a cultural system that is disciplined people, disciplined thought, and disciplined action, so that the system can perform and derive its success. When HR is operating in this milieu, and when HR is performing in this standard, and when the contemporary HR system is aligning and bringing all this reality into being, because as you see, there's so much expectations. What do we want to achieve? You have to achieve corporate success. How? Number one, you have to keep promises. The essence of bringing people and training people and developing people and providing technology and making the workplace conducive is to achieve corporate success. Keep promises. What promises? One, we want to keep promises to investors by delivering consistent and predictable earnings. If investors don't get more money, if the business is not growing, then HR is not working. Two, we want to keep promises to customers with our products and services offerings. The role of HR is to bring in people that can deliver customers' mandates and expectations. Third, we want to keep promises to employees with opportunities and expectations. Why? Because you cannot succeed on the outside without succeeding first in the inside. We cannot do well when employees are sad and unhappy, but when employees are happy and they're performing and they're doing well, you can be assured that the impact will be felt on the customers. And when the customers are happy, it will be felt on the investors, from employees to customers and then to the investor. So number one is to keep promises. So the entire gamut of HR is how do we keep the business running? And how do we keep promises to investors, to customers, and to employees? Secondly, is growth strategy. Here, we are looking at the system as a whole. The role of HR is to support growth. Why? We want to articulate our primary growth strategy. What are they? Customer intimacy, product innovations, geographical expansion, revenue drive. That's why we are here. Businesses are here to achieve their purpose. And the purpose cannot be achieved without driving human capital system. And that's why HR is there. The investors bring HR to help to drive growth. So the growth we show. We want to align decisions with growth strategy. We want our stakeholders, who are they? Investors, customers, employees, government, community, to understand our primary growth strategy. That's why HR is there, so that the people can articulate and advance the growth. Third, we want to build core competence. The role of HR is to support the business in building core competence. If we don't have competence, then we are just dreaming. If we don't have competence, then we are just playing. In no time, we'll fade away. Why? We want to have right competency that deliver our strategy. That's why HR is there. It's facilitating learning, growth, skills, abilities, innovations, so that we can deliver on our strategy. Two, we want to invest in our core competencies, most relevant to our growth strategy. And thirdly, we want leadership to demonstrate investment support in building company-wide both technical and support skills. And the fourth one is organization capabilities. The role of HR is not to develop HR department, is to wield impact across the chain. That is to say, we want to assess performance for each product, each services, and then we want to rank them in performance and opportunities. So as you look at HR driving corporate success, it's important to understand that these are the expectations of modern HR. It's not about the department, it's not about the people, it's about the entire system. When I say people, I mean the entire people, not the people in the HR department. You move from your department and you affect the entire system. So the HR today has evolved from the traditional hiring and firing to a more technological driven and people-centric HR. Understanding that it's no longer about files or data alone, but how you translate data into value. It's not just about we are here, we have trained, we have recruited. It's about how has the training impacted on value? How has the training, recruitment, how has it impacted on our value? How have we moved from where we were to where we are, and from where we are to where we are going? How have we moved from low level to high level? How have we moved from lower pedestal to higher pedestal? That is the HR today, and that is the contemporary HR that today using technology and people tech to drive HR value system and impact, helping to share mindset, helping to share leverage, efficiency, collaboration, impact, and value. And that is why it is called contemporary, modern HR in a disruptive world. I like what Armstrong said. We will be in some form of denial if we didn't see that execution is a true measure of success. We could have so many trainings, we could read so many books, we could have so many certifications, we could have so many experiences, we could have so many knowledge. If they don't translate into value, then HR is not adding value. Thank you. So I welcome questions.